You're about to listen to the Pro Wrestling Zone podcast, a Majestic production property. One of the quickest rising professional wrestling podcasts on the market today, and the most entertaining podcast in the history of existence. Please note, before diving into the show, that this is for entertainment purposes only, so myself and Peanut Gallery engage in exaggerations, dirty or offensive jokes, and satirical comments. If you are a triggered little snowflake who gets professionally offended, this is not the podcast for you. If you do enjoy our work, we ask that you contribute to our Patreon page at patreon.com/MajesticP. Contributors get access to the Discord, vote on what topic we cover, and enjoy exclusive content such as pay-per-view watch parties. Here's a sample of that from NXT TakeOver Portland. What about the other company that Bobby Fish and Kyle O'Reilly went from?
Oh, ROH?
The one that they were signed exclusively to.
Oh, Ring of Honor?
Oh, no. Oh, that's going to be a lot of fun. Oh my God. I felt that in my hand. If this is something you believe you would enjoy, visit our Patreon at patreon.com/MajesticP and become a patron. This ensures that we continue to entertain you for years to come. Without further ado, sit back and enjoy the show. And we are back, I guess. So we have decided to cover every episode of Dark Side of the Ring for Season 2 because the first season was just fucking killer.
And, of course, we don't have any pay-per-views to cover for at least the next month, so...
It's basically like really good filibustering for the next month.
Filler. What's filibustering? God damn, you need to work on your vocabulary there. It's filler. You said filibustering.
Oh, really? Oh, shit, I'm sorry.
You're standing and giving a political speech. Like, come on.
Well, it's...
To delay a bill?
Yes. Okay, so, against my very poor vocabulary
Just keep drinking.
Aside from my very poor vocabulary, run a fucking podcast about professional wrestling, have a terrible vocabulary. It's all good neighborhood here, bitch. So, Chris Benoit. It was a two-parter episode. I was kind of questioning why they did that, and as soon as they released the second part, I kind of figured why. Holy shit. So, Peanut Gallery is emotionless. You could literally stomp on a bag full of puppies, and he would literally not care.
Okay, I would probably lose my shit if you were doing that.
So, anyway...
I know a lot of people teared up during this episode, but I apparently did not.
You even said that it was a rough one.
That was a lot of emotions.
There was a lot. I feel... So, what were your overall opinions on the first two episodes of this season, of the new one?
It was just there. I don't have an opinion one way or another.
What about the comparison to the last season?
Of course, I think the production's a lot better for this season.
Yeah,
absolutely.
110%. Do you think that starting with such a heavy episode is a benefit, or will it take away from the overall... The overall
no, it's a good thing. I think that it's something that needed to be done. It's something that people have been looking for, a Chris Benoit-esque documentary of some sort.
And how they approached it was very tasteful.
It was very unbiased, and it kind of hit the nail on the head.
Mm-hmm. So at the very end of it, David Benoit and Nancy's sister, they hugged, and that one hurt. Like, I was like, oh, wow.
So what happened was they hadn't talked for years before then, and Chris Jericho brought them back together. So there we go. That's what happened.
They went to an AEW show together. I think they were at Double or Nothing together, and that's where some of the footage came from.
Oh.
And... oh my God! Just seeing David Benoit talk about—I mean, he's pretty open about talking about
his dad,
his father, and what happened there. But you can tell that sometimes it was just a slog to get through. And with it being a two-parter episode, trust me, like that first one when they talked about Eddie, that one kind of hurt because that one was like an out-of-nowhere death.
Right.
But the second part, I think, hit me a little bit harder just because
they talked about what happened after the death,
right?
When things started coming to light about how it happened,
right? They had very strange cuts of the. Obviously, they're not going to show the police photos of everything that happened because that'd be kind of not okay,
right?
But they showed like this is a picture of
the house
scene, of like what they saw.
Right.
They got the police who were the first responders to see what happened. They talked about that.
Yes.
I thought was like, whoa, like I kind of envisioned myself walking through the house.
So they got the friends, they got the family members, they got the detective. They didn't get people from WWE though, which I think was interesting. I think it's because it's not a WWE production. I'm pretty sure that Vince would not have approved of it, but I wanted to kind of hear from a producer who maybe was working at that time. Kind of, I think we heard like we heard Chavo talk about what the producers were saying,
and they said about Johnny Ace, who obviously is John Laurinaitis, who was the executive vice president of talent at the time.
Right, and I would have liked to see him maybe put some input in there, but they take what they can get, I guess.
Right. I think WWE, because of how they approached, WWE obviously knew. They gave the blessing to show the footage of the Chris Benoit Raw and what Vince McMahon said after the fact. That was in this. That was in that episode.
But would that be considered fair use if they were adding? I think I really feel like it is because that's not official footage. That was not like official.
It was edited, but I think it definitely was. It was definitely official footage because they had Vince McMahon talking to the camera with the ECW after.
Well, yeah,
after everything
right.
That's official footage, and I guarantee you that they said we're doing this. We would like to use this footage, and I think WWE is like. I think they did it in a way where WWE is not inherently there, but you have to talk about that company because, I'm sorry, he was signed with the company.
Yeah, I just don't think that they got WWE's blessing. I just think they took clips and stuff maybe that people had recorded, or things like that because they were under 30 seconds, so that would have fallen under fair use, right?
And it was used in a transparent way,
right.
So it is. But knowing
it almost, yeah, they would probably bust a nut if to Vice if Vice hadn't said anything.
Right. I guarantee you that they said we're going to use this footage. It's under the fair use. They probably let them be fully aware of what's going on. Obviously, it's a week out after the episode aired, and they air it on Tuesday or whatever. So obviously we're going to see if WWE is going to make a hissy fit out of it. Obviously, I think their hands are tied with something a little more important than a fucking Vice episode.
I don't think that they're going to make a hissy fit out of it.
I don't think so either. I think they did it tastefully where WWE still
because again, they also remember first season they used a lot of footage from WWE as well.
Right.
So, or at least footage that WWE owns.
Right. In the next episode, obviously, there's going to be another very heavy topic. It's about New Jack.
Yeah.
And, WWE owns a lot of the ECW footage. Or all the ECW footage.
Yeah, they own all of it.
I don't know what I'm talking about. So, the episode was done so beautifully. What was your biggest takeaway that you did not know about the Chris Benoit story that you got out of the episode? Because they went into a great in-depth discussion on every aspect that led up to what happened in that house.
I guess it was a lot of the unknowns that I had about the events that happened over that weekend.
Do you think a lot of them were answered?
I think some of them were, yes.
Okay.
And I think that things like William Regal, when he talked about Chris Benoit, and William Regal and Chris Benoit lived in the same area.
Right, that one was kind of revealing.
And William Regal he probably knew more than other wrestlers knew about the history between Nancy and Chris.
Right.
And he did not mention that, but he tried his best to talk about Chris in the most positive light that he possibly can. Because a lot of the other wrestlers talk about like his family and he was a great family man and blah blah blah. But William was like, he was one of the best wrestlers to ever step foot in the ring.
And he was. And
he was. And see,
I'm saying,
that is why, because of what happened, the WWE is never going to forgive Chris for it.
No.
And the other thing too
No
is that I never considered Nancy to be a contender into the Hall of Fame, but knowing where she was, knowing what she was at that point in time, I think there's some credence that can be lent to it, but you can't. But it's hard when there's this what happened.
She is attached to what happened,
yes.
And it's going to be very difficult. They're going to be treading some water,
right?
Which is why I'm going to bring it to somebody else who is just as controversial, China,
right?
Where they got her into the Hall of Fame, but it was with DX,
right?
I still believe that they're going to put China in separately because I think she deserves it.
Right.
But they needed to. It's skirting a very fine line of what,
right,
with the attachment of what it is. Because, China did porn. China did a wrestling porn.
Right.
And she badmouthed everything. The whole attachment with Triple H. And it was like, man, it's going to be skirting. But they did it.
Right.
My biggest takeaway was, I knew that Chris Benoit and Eddie Guerrero had a huge relationship. I did not think that the death of Eddie Guerrero, the magnitude of that death for Chris was, I did not think it was that big. Mm-hmm. Because honestly, Chris was a ticking time bomb. They showed the footage of his brain. There were big holes in it. Clearly, there was a change. I think Chris Benoit should have retired after WrestleMania 20. You go out the biggest way you can,
right?
Or at least after Eddie Guerrero passed,
right? Kind of hang up the boots from there,
right? I feel like him continuing his career after that death was a really big thing, and also Chris did not grieve properly because he got on a plane.
And he kept wrestling. He kept doing his thing.
And I understand, but, Chris Benoit, he was wrestling. He ate, slept, breathed, thought, did everything wrestling. He married a former valet. His son is now wrestling. He did not take a paycheck from anything else throughout the course of his life other than wrestling. That is how
he made his living.
Die-hard obsessed he was.
Right.
And I can appreciate that, but the circumstances that he was in, the obvious emotional wreck that he was at that funeral, I think WWE should have honestly sat there and said, we're going to release you from your contract. You need to take some time off. Have a couple of years to grieve the right way. We could still be sitting here and seeing Chris Benoit alive,
right,
at this point,
right.
I felt that JR was represented WWE at, I believe it was Nancy's funeral.
It was Nancy and
Daniel's
funeral.
How they kicked him out, I felt like was somewhat disrespectful.
To JR?
Yeah.
No?
JR was a friend to Chris.
Yeah.
And I did not see a problem with him being there. What if it was like somebody who did not know Chris, I could understand. But
no. It's just that they knew why he was there, and WWE was trying to save face. That's all that he was there for. I think it was well within their power, and I think that the way that JR handled it was with tact and grace. And
that's fine, but he was still.
It doesn't matter.
Was still a friend.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. He was there representing the WWE.
How would you know that? He didn't go in there and say, "I'm representing WWE." WWE. He didn't do that.
No, but he was under contract with them at the time, and
Okay.
it was obvious that nobody there wanted him there.
I mean, that's fine, but honestly, he sat. If he, I don't know.
No, it doesn't make sense to have someone there like that. Because the WWE
if
is...
it was like John Laurinaitis, I can understand. But JR, who was already a friend, who personally recruited him to go to fucking WWE.
Again, no one fucking cares. But it was...
Obviously, these are my opinions, and this
yeah,
is...
I know. All you care about is nice guys and friends. It's like, no, this is business. It's all business.
It was not a business meeting. It was a funeral.
Yeah, I know, but JR was told to go to the funeral.
How do you know that?
Because he said it.
Yeah, that's fine, but he did not go there and saying, I am a representation of WWE. He did not do that. How would they know at that time that he was there on behalf of WWE?
Because other people were probably there and said, hey, this guy wasn't invited.
If he wasn't invited, okay.
He wasn't invited.
Okay, that's different.
He came as a representative to the WWE.
No, that's fine then. I didn't know that if he was invited or not. I didn't catch that.
I'm pretty sure there were other wrestlers there, and I'm pretty sure that they got wind that JR was going to come to the funeral as the representative to the WWE. And then they told the family members, and the family members said, you're not allowed to be here.
Okay, well, obviously we're going to be talking about this next episode.
Jesus.
Obviously, we're going to be talking about another episode, the death of Owen Hart, and there were a bunch of fucking wrestlers there, and Mr. McMahon was there. Was he there representing WWE? I'm sorry, that was a little snarky.
Again, you're comparing apples to oranges. Literally, you're going to a funeral of two people that a wrestler of theirs murdered.
Oh, I see what you're talking. Okay. Well, okay.
Why
now,
would you...
JR was a friend of Nancy as well. I mean, why couldn't that
still
be anything?
Because, again, the wrestlers get wind of this. The wrestlers knew that Vince was going to send one of his lackeys over as a representative to represent WWE at the funeral.
Okay, I mean, okay.
If JR went there under his own volition, then that's one thing, but he didn't because Vince said represent us at the funeral.
Okay, I will concede on that, but I still believe there was a better way to handle it, and because JR was close to Nancy, he was friends with her. They worked in WCW together.
But again, it's just because of the fact that Vince said represent the company.
Like I said, I will concede to that, but sending JR was kind of a low blow for WWE because I think they knew that they could possibly get away with it because of his relationship to Nancy.
Exactly, and that's why they chose JR to do it.
Right.
If JR came in under his own volition without that representation hanging over his head, then I think he would have been allowed to stay.
Right. No, that's fine.
But
I will concede to it. I will concede to it.
I think it's because, to them it's like, oh, Vince McMahon is here, kind of thing.
Right. Okay, if Vince McMahon showed up, obviously he'd be kicked out. It's like, that would be ridiculous.
And then it's different. It's different with Owen because Owen died because it's just a murder aspect.
Okay.
The wrestler murdered two people.
And it wasn't Chris's funeral.
Right.
It was Nancy and Daniel's funeral.
Exactly. If it was Chris's funeral, no one from WWE would have shown up for that.
Right. And
Friends obviously still did.
If JR went down there under his own volition and did that, and they said, we're kind of uncomfortable, here with you here, obviously, I think JR would have had enough grace to leave under his own volition anyway, because he even said, I can clearly see I was not welcome here. I'm just going to fuck off.
Right. But everyone knew because other wrestlers were there for Nancy and Daniel's funeral, and they all knew that.
So, also, another one that kind of bothered me about this was Kevin Sullivan, who obviously basically wrote his own divorce, but he did not go there and defend himself on camera regarding the abuse allegations. And honestly, I think he should have.
Yeah.
I thought that was somewhat disappointing, and it kind of leads credence to he was definitely doing that.
Oh, yeah, of course he was doing that.
Obviously, innocent until proven guilty. We don't know.
Right.
There are a couple of other outside things.
But if someone doesn't want to come on camera and say that they didn't do it, then they did it.
Yeah, it's kind of weird.
Anyways, I can't think of much more to say about these two parts. Watch them.
So here is my takeaway. We are going to be doing an episode later regarding CTE, I'm going to assume. I feel like that would be a good discussion to have.
Yes,
overall.
because they did, yes, the CTE part, that was also very interesting to me.
Oh, yeah, no, it was really cool. So we'll probably do like
We're going to do a
very in-depth thing about that specifically.
Down the road. We'll probably do it sometime over the summer when things start getting back to normal.
Right.
But that is definitely one of our topics. And
what we'll do is that for each one of these dark sides of the ring, we'll kind of tie in a larger topic that we'll cover later. We already have two right now, so like the episode with New Jack, we're going to cover
WrestleMania.
Not WrestleMania.
This New Jack and WrestleMania.
No. For the tie-in episode later, we're gonna talk about if hardcore wrestling was beneficial or detriment to the business, and that will be something for a different episode.
Right.
But we're probably going to think of new
we'll
ideas
catch up
here.
with some tie-ins and do that, because I think a lot of this season's episodes, they have a lot of hardcore stuff in there anyway. So
yeah, we're going to have some content for fucking days. I'm not worried about it.
So anyways, when we come back from the break, we are going to discuss part-timers in professional wrestling.
Yes.
Are they good? Are they bad? What are your thoughts? So we'll be back and we'll talk about that here for probably 10 to 15 minutes.
Yep.